Hello. How's everybody doing? Welcome to the World Building Show. We are going to, at some point, let me turn down, I think we can turn down. There we go. There we go. Salutations! My day is going great, Ash. How is yours going? Thank you for the sub. Asphalt. Hello, hi, hello, woo, hello, hi, Matt, hello, cupcake, thing, many of those. Well, I figure, so Crimpty liked the patch. That's a comparative, just literally the same settings as a comparative irrelevance patch. I'm alive, can't complain. Well, in fact, I think, yeah, that's the only time you can complain is when you're alive. The Outlander! Subscribe, thank you very much. Freddy Bushy Boy, Twitch Prime. What's the cool new weird thing by the time writer? You guys don't recognize the... Surely someone recognized the... Hola! It's Blip Dool Poop! Correct, Quatch! It's Blip Dool Poop. Yes, it's Blip Dool Poop. It's my statue of Blip Dool Poop, which came alive while my players were in Night Below. Hey, Blues Light, how's it going? While my players were in Night Below and attacked them, and it was God of the Koatoa, and I had to spend the weekend sanding off Barbie's panties, because I think we can agree Blip Dool Poop doesn't wear panties. Ryan Murphy, still excited from the stream. How cool was that fucking game on Wednesday? I thought it was pretty fucking cool. I had a great time. There was definitely a moment, X-Ray Games X, welcome aboard. There was definitely, the arm's great. The arm's great, but I have not gotten back on the bike. I gotta go back to the gym before we do that. Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday there was definitely a moment, Wednesday night, where I was just running D&D for my friends, and I was just, not even aware we were doing anything else. Not even aware we were streaming or anything like that. And then I realized that was happening. And I was like, this is going to work, man. This is going to work. Hazard to go, Sue. Have you taken a victory lap around the office? How many people watched the stream? Thousands. Many thousands. Are you happy with it? Yes, very happy with it. Lars was the perfect dude to gank. Correct. King, he was largely ready with King because he kind of knew / suspected what was going to happen for weeks, if not months. So yeah, Lars, I think we refer to him as is Lady Sarah like dead? I mean, we had 12,000 people. We had, Phil's not the commander, Sweet is the commander. And if he doesn't want to be the commander, he's gonna have to do something about that. Did Lars write the Chronicle document himself? No. No, Lars is not. Lars is not a writer. Or I should say maybe Lars thinks that I'm the better writer. It took me so you read that thing, that took me 3 hours. This is Go-Juice. This is Go-Juice. Go-Juice is just something you add to water. Hello, Wolf Gauntlet. Matt, I want to send you a thank you letter. We have a post office box, but I do not know the address off the top of my head. That's something you can probably get off Twitter somewhere. What are we doing today? Well, today we are gonna figure out what's going on with the Fulcrum, the folks who are on the docks. We've only got a couple of weeks now. Hey, Arsqueef, how's it going? What'd you think of the game, Arsqueef? Wait, what is this? Wait, what is this? Wait, what is it? This is a world building stream where we get together and we prep the city of Capital. We've done, 6 or 7 of them. We've done a bunch of them. Is it too soon to ask when we can expect the campaign diary? The campaign diary has been recorded and about a third of it is edited. We're just waiting, and so we're here doing this, talking to you folks, and going to do some world building pretty soon. And then at around 2 o'clock, my friend's going to come over and we're going to basically do danger room scenarios for the chain because they want to learn how to play their characters in combat, because obviously their characters have done a lot of fighting together, but the players haven't, so that's going to be fun. Loved it. Hope you don't mind the live gifts of the show. No, I thought those were great. I think they're folks like Anna get really excited when Arsqueef makes a gif of them. Welcome back, Undercover DB. We've done a lot of these. No, that's not happening today. No, you do not get to see that. No, false. That's just folks hanging out, rolling dice. Are there other codices in your campaign beyond what's in Strongholds and Followers? There can be. There can be. I don't have any of them written or designed, but I think there's one or two ideas that Lars and I have been talking around. NetHack later tonight? Well, it depends on how I feel. I'd love to. I wanted to do NetHack tomorrow. I basically lost my Thursday because we were all just coming down. Like, there was a moment Thursday morning where I could have done the campaign diary, but I wanted to do it in here, and I wasn't set up to record a campaign diary in here because OBS's settings were all completely wrong. By the time they were right, we had lunch, and I was like, oh, I'm wiped out. So anyway, we're kind of a day behind. Wouldn't a customs office? Yeah, that's one of the things we're going to talk about is the customs office and how you what happens when you arrive in capital and stuff like that. But that might not be till next week. Did you fuzz the dice on who the demon would attack? Necro Leviath asks, did you fudge the dice on who? You saw what happened live, and what happened live really happened. That actually happened. This is the why because contrary to the thesis statement of the channel for me to make stuff up now here in this environment at the table, anything goes. But I said 1 2 3 4 5. I think 1 2 3 4 5, and I figured I'd re-roll sixes. It's pretty typical. And I rolled a 6, so I went 1 2 3 4 5 6. So that actually happened. Now, what would have happened if I had rolled a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or a 4? You'll never know. Was the plan to kill a PC all along? Yes. Yes, and Lars was my unindicted co-conspirator. In a certain sense, you can think of it as like Lars's idea. There was definitely a moment in the last year where he was like, man, if one of us, if I'm gonna die on the stream, because he's gonna kill one of us, just because he knew what the setup was. Everybody knew what the setup was, the fall of the chain, and we covered this in the campaign diary. And he and Phil were debating which one of them was gonna be the one to die to make the sacrifice on this, because they both knew I was gonna kill one of them. They're like, well, they're not gonna kill Tom. Matt's not gonna kill Tom. Or Anna or something like that. And Lars like, it's gonna be me because I keep smack talking at Ajax all the time. And he goes, maybe I should play the commander. That would be cool if the commander died in the first stream. And I was like, ooh, and so he was like, so is my guy gonna die in the first stream? And I was like, well, let me put it this way. I would have a really cool backup character ready. So yeah. Yeah, well, this is, I think one of the mods was saying this is definitely gonna have, people are gonna be asking questions, and there are gonna be spoilers. Well, I think my favorite quote was the same as everybody else's. But I loved, there was somebody in chat, in the Discord, I think, there was somebody in the Discord who said that Nails should have turned to the apple cart seller after all the crap went down and been like, Mondays, huh? And I thought, now Tom didn't say that, but I loved the fact that people watching were able to kind of laser lock on the different characters' personalities and say something like that, because that's, that person wrote a little bit of fan fiction in the moment, a little micro fan fiction right there, but it was perfectly reasonable. That was exactly a thing that Nails would have said. So I have a reputation for, which I curate that reputation, obviously, for running a high fatality game, but I'm not running a high fatality game. It's really unusual for anybody to die in my game until the final battle, which is typically, between, if you run a campaign, if we play for 6 to 9 months, so the players get to like 5th or 6th or 7th level, then in this battle, expect that people are gonna have to make sacrifices. And it's usually like one, like Lady Serial died in one battle. That's, I think Skoros was the only person who died in the next game. So it's typically like there's one fatality, and but the way I run the game is this constant catastrophe wave that the players are trying to surf their way out of. So it always feels like death is on the line. But I don't. Where does tobacco come from in your world? I think probably Rioja, actually. So yeah. Is Asmodeus one of the Black Gods? No, the Black Gods are Nikros and Servus, and they are unique to Vasloria. There's a phrase that somebody not from Vasloria would not do. All right, so it's 11:05. We've listened to the time writer for a little while. Have I missed a video on demand? No, the video on demand is going to take a while. We record everything, so this is like the thing that Jerry has really been working on for the past 6 months, sort of behind the scenes that nobody really knows about, is how to stream this crazy multi-camera setup to Twitch and record it locally. So to Twitch in 1080p and simultaneously be recording it locally, yes, he is, Axon Hill, in 4K. That is not easy to do. The technology for that is not widely developed. And it took a lot of testing and a lot of work, and almost at the last minute we couldn't do it. Literally like an hour before the stream went live, we were running at 5 frames a second, and it looked like the stream just wasn't going to launch that day. And that would have been unfortunate, but we would have dealt with it. But he pulled it out at the last minute, and the problem is that the 4K file is, we uploaded it to YouTube. We edited the breakout and stuff like that. We uploaded it to YouTube, and YouTube is taking literally days to process it. Like, it was at, it's not public, people can't watch it yet, but it was at 360p for at least 24 hours. So YouTube is not sort of okay with us uploading 3 hours of 4K footage. And so we're just trying to figure out, like, we're just sitting here waiting for it to hit 4K. So would it make sense to do it in 2 parts? Maybe. That's not a bad idea. Upload the first part to the break and then upload the second part. Not a bad idea. Macros 1980. Macros 1980. Thank you for the subs. 10 gift subs. It's crazy. Thank you very much. Don't forget, folks, we have a Patreon now. So people that want to support the channel can support it directly. We get a lot more of, the half the Twitch sub revenue goes to Twitch. I hate that. Like, I don't think that, I think that it should be like 30%, maybe at the most. It could be less, but 50% is crazy. So, Patreon is done. The whole website's down? No, that's interesting. Well, I'm not in charge of Patreon. Greetings from Germany. Guten Tag. Guten Abend. So, Patreon is rolling new stats right now. I love seeing people who I recognize. We had a whole bunch of people. I'm going to start uploading pre-40 hours. I think, the commotion asks, so it's not 48 hours. I think it's 24. I said 48 because I didn't know. I'm glad you liked it, Bogart Ramshackle. So there's nothing stopping us from starting uploading it immediately to YouTube, but it takes a little bit of editing. We got to edit out some of the, the lead time in the break, and then we can start uploading it. But, yeah. So, I don't think I have seen any art yet today. I literally just woke up today, took a shower, came into the office, set up the time writer. So, how do you feel about the fact? I love the wiki. The wiki is amazing. We have a wiki right now. I'm glad you like the Illrigger. It's very, very draft 0. But what was I going to say? I'm a little bit wiped out. So these, there's a fandom wiki, which I love. I loved the, I was reading the Lady Serial write-up, and somebody had, by the time I got to the Lady Serial write-up, I was like, this is crazy. Bogart Ramshackle, I don't know about whether or not Big Cat displaces Copper while Copper is writing. I don't think so, but maybe. That's not that bad. Was Anna originally going to play an Oath of Conquest Paladin? No. She was looking at Oath of Conquest and a couple of different oaths. She was looking at like 2 or 3 different oaths. And I was sitting there figuring out, well, I was asking her, what do you like from this oath? What do you like from that oath? Because I could probably kit bash something together that's just the best of these oaths, or the ones you want. And that's when she was like, well, I think of my character as like a Paladin of Asmodeus. And I was like, wait, what? You're a Paladin of Asmodeus? I was like, oh, that's too cool an idea you need your own class for that. So, are you going to end up editing articles on the wiki? It's not my wiki. I don't run the wiki. I don't own it. It's purely fan created. Has nothing to do with, and it's unofficial, and it's going to be up to the fans to kind of keep it. What's the word I'm looking for? Good. Could be a long day. Akron is one of the cities in my hell. There is a wiki. I don't know what you're going to have to Google it. Hello, Nayafer91. So, yeah, self-policing. Yeah, self-moderating, self-regulating. Self-regulating was what I was thinking about. Linido, thank you for the subs. Linido111. Fan art, I don't know what to say. I don't know, like, that's an Anna question or a mod question. Unfortunately, I am the captain of the starship MCDM. I have to delegate. If the Black Rose ever show back up, the Black Rose, by the way, I inadvertently stole from. I remember thinking the Knights of the Black Rose were a cool idea. It's a good name, good name. And then I was like, it was months afterwards, and people were watching live on stream, and somebody found a Magic the Gathering card. It goes, oh look, the Knights of the Black Rose are in here, and I saw the Magic the Gathering card, and I went, wait. wait, the Knights of the Black Rose are from Dragonlance. I stole that from Dragonlance from 30 years ago. So I changed it. If you read the adventure, The Siege of Castle Rend in Strongholds and Followers, which you can get at our store, they changed them so it's not the Knights of the Black Roses anymore. It's the Knights of Three Roses, I think is what they're called. So let's figure out, people are going to start getting impatient. Is the subreddit self-regulated? Well, no, Judge. My subreddit, Matt Colville, is regulated by me and Anna. But also just normal Reddit. Like, I often find comments in the subreddit that I think are just terrible, but I only find them because I'm clicking on things that have been hidden as a result of how many downvotes they got. And in a situation like that, unless it's really egregious, my attitude is like, well, the system's working. They got a ton of downvotes, and now you're only going to see this if you really, really want to. Are you going to do multi-class rules for the Illrigger? I don't know. Do they need their own rules for that? Isn't there already multi-class rules? Fennok! Thank you for the subs, Fennok. 5 gifted subs. That makes me very happy. So let's figure out what the hell we're going to do, right? Because obviously, I think I did see that, Ash. Obviously, we could sit here and talk about what happened Wednesday night for the rest of the thing, but this is not the live Q&A, although it would be fun to do one. Maybe if we ever wrap up the world building streams. We got only about 2 more weeks, I think, maybe 3 before the heroes get to Capital, so we got a lot of work to do. So this is the world building stream where not the Wednesday night discussion stream, although I may answer questions about that over the course of the thing, and that may mean spoilers. Any live discussion with me is probably going to have spoilers about the product, now that it has been released. If my math is right, well, New Teddy, that I don't know what I haven't done. I have done the math on that, but I don't remember what the number is. But don't take that as any kind of gospel. We're an expensive company, but we're working hard to make a lot of moderately high quality products, and so hopefully that will find an audience. So we're about to transform and attack, and this is a traumatic process under which we undergo quite a bit of cellular decay. But the stabilizers should keep things right. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, you got. All right. Whew. All right. Okay. I am now much smaller and facing the opposite direction. So that's not easy to do. Took a lot of work. Many subjects died in order to bring you this technology. But now we've got, yes, it was not easy, but here we are. So those of you who have been to our previous world building streams, you may recognize that this up here, wait, you can't see that. You can't see that. You can see this. This thing up here is the map of Capital. It's just an abstract map. It's not by any means, it doesn't actually represent what Capital looks like, except in a very abstracted sense. It's a top-down view. The little circle in the middle is a disused Colosseum, and then each section is a neighborhood, and each colored group is a district. All the tan or flash-colored places are all neutral, and the colors represent the different factions of Capital. So, stand by. I love this already. Welcome aboard, Hazy Mooncat. So, we do all our work in Google Sheets. We're doing it in Google in Excel, which is where I do a lot of my thinking and designing. But it was getting tricky to be able to get to the document when I wanted it. No matter, even Dropbox was kind of. So I was like, let's just put it in Google Docs. Is the blue water? Yeah, the blue is water. So we're going to be talking today about the purple section, or this light purple, this kind of like, not the fuchsia section, but the actual purple section, which is the docks. And the docks are run by the Fulcrum, which are one of the guilds. The central tension of Capital, those of you who've been watching my videos for a long time know that I like having campaigns that have a central tension. Even if that central tension does not always factor into the plot of the adventure, it will inform the setting and the NPCs you meet and stuff like that. That can be very useful. I think for Capital, the central tension is going to be incredibly important for the story and the adventure. The central tension of Capital is the nobles versus the hereditary, old-school, traditional nobles who used to be in charge exclusively, who now have to share power with the guilds. There are 3 guilds that have managed to get themselves into the government and get recognized as official noble houses, and they are nouveau riche, and they don't care about the traditions of Rioja or Capital. They largely only care about money. even that statement is false. They only care about money. No, they care. For instance, the fulcrum cares about what goes on in the docks, in the neighborhoods in the docks. These are their people. They consider the people who live in the docks their citizens, right? So they care about that. Each of these districts is sort of like its own city. And one of the nicknames of the city is the City of the Great Game, because it's all about these different factions. Even the ones that are allied, like all the nobles, are all still spying on each other and jockeying for position. It's like, we want to stop the guilds from running the city and taking over, but I would like it to be our faction that wins that race, not our allied faction. Right? So that's the idea here. And you can see we've done a lot of work here. This is where we started when we started talking about capital. We had what the premise was written down with the central tension, and then we started working on what the different factions were. We had this kind of peach color for one of the. If you were a noble faction, you were peach. If you were a guild, you were teal, lime. So we had the Imperial University, which is run by House Alvaro. We did a deep dive on them 2 weeks ago. Very successful, I thought. Learned a lot about House Alvaro. A lot of people thought the nobles were the bad guys, which is, on the surface, 100% true. Like, if you arrive in capital and you were a modern, let's say California living west of the Five, you would love the guilds. You would be in favor of the guilds. They're egalitarian. They're much more democratic. And the nobles are kind of the opposite. And the nobles are all largely sexist and speciest and stuff like that. They're very traditional. So people were like, well, this is a bad central tension, because there are clear villains and clear heroes. And I was like, well, I like having clear villains and clear heroes on the surface. And then when you dig down, you start discovering that things aren't always what they seem. So the deep dive 2 weeks ago on House Alvaro fleshed Duke Prospero out quite a lot and gave the nobleman a point of view that is defensible, right? The nobles are the ones saying, we have to work together to try to stop Ajax, because Ajax is coming. I mean, we might be the last place he arrives at, but that means he's going to be the strongest when he arrives here. And the guilds are like, who cares about Ajax? We don't care who runs the place. We'll be doing our business no matter what. And the nobles like, it's not going to work that way. Ajax is, the first thing he's going to do is he's going to murder you and your entire family and anyone who's ever worked for you. And then whoever's left, he'll put them in charge. And they'll be happy to be in charge because they hated working for you. And the guilds don't believe him. But Duke Prospero, we learned 2 weeks ago, is the leader of the noble faction. And one of the reasons he's banging this drum is because he went to school with Ajax. They both graduated the same year from the Imperial University, from the War College. And he's like, I know this guy. He could do it. He could win. He could conquer the world. And now you folks know these guys. Take it easy, Asphalt. You just showed up and now you gotta go. I understand. It's different places in different parts of the world and people are busy. Chicken Princess says, why do they refuse to believe Duke Prospero? Well, because they don't like the guy. They don't like the guy. He hates all of them, and he's open about it. He doesn't think they should have any power. So anything he says, they just are going to write off. And plus, they've gotten as far as, you'd be surprised at how easy it is to ignore advice when you've had nothing but success, for years and years and years, and you don't want to listen to other people. Ajax is contemporary, yes. He's not Kalian, he's Phaedron. The Kalian Empire came out of Phaedros, but it's like Greece now and the Roman Empire, or Italy now and the Roman Empire, two different things. So yeah, Ajax is contemporary. You met him. What's the gray spot in the middle of the city? There is an answer for that. So, well, I think Jay Franny 43 says that his wife agrees with Lars, that Ajax is a name to make fun of. I think if you grew up with like Ajax as a cleaner, then it's a silly name. But some of us grew up with Ajax from the Iliad, and he's completely badass. Is Ajax immortal? Well, he hasn't died yet. Thank you for being awesome. Thank you for the sub, Neon Kobold. We were at a restaurant last night, and it was me and Lars and Anna, because we were here till like 8:30 last night working, and the waiter was super cool, and I ordered nachos. I wasn't really that hungry. I'm like, I'll just get an appetizer, I'll get some nachos, and the nachos showed up, and they were literally like this big, and I just stared at him, and I'm like, what have I done? And the waiter is like, I believe in you. And only later did we find out, when the waiter came back, that he was a fan of the show. So that was cool. Let's see. I keep doing this thing where I cover my mouth, and I don't need to do that anymore. I have new teeth. All right, so we've done the deep dive on Duke Prospero, Lord of House Alvar. We learned a lot about him, and now it's time in order to kind of, we could do world building every week for the next year, and and only then I think be really ready, right? Ready in the sense of an adventuring party could go anywhere and do whatever they wanted, and we would have details ready for them. We don't have a year. We've got about 2 or 3 weeks. But the good news is the players can't go wherever they want. They are going to arrive in the docks, and that's probably where they're going to stay for one adventure. So we're going to start prepping the docks. We're going to start by talking about, let's take this information here, right? The Fulcrum, Shirome, who's the head of the Fulcrum. We're going to talk about them, and then next week probably do a deep dive on the docks, the actual like buildings and structures, and it's probably going to be nebulous, the difference between one and the other, but we want to be ready when the players arrive at the docks. We can describe it to them, and there's lots of things to do there. Okay, how far from Black Bottom to Capital? Well, it depends on how many dimensions you travel through. Spoilers. Chester the artist. I'm glad you like. People really liked. People seem to have a good time on Wednesday night. So here I've already created a thing here. Let's copy this to the Fulcrum, which is the docks. Let's expand this a little bit. These are the 3. So you can see the Fulcrum has these 3 black circles in it. And all of these places have black circles in them, and each black circle is a power center. And the idea is that controlling these power centers gives you political power. This map is based on the map of Diplomacy, which is a game we've talked about before if you watch the YouTube channel. Diplomacy is a game I'm a big fan of. I'm a vector. I'm an infection vector for that game. I introduce lots of people to it, and then they end up playing it quite a lot more than I ever have. So I have a lot of appreciation for that game, and I like it quite a lot, but it's not like, this music's kind of spooky. Maybe we should change the music. This music's more spooky than it needs to be for a world building stream. Should we listen to the mostly modular playlist or the Time Rider playlist? Let's listen to some Krell Patch for a little while. Was the Kraken thing something Ajax controls? It seemed to do what he wanted it to do. So Ashpocalypse wants the mostly modular playlist. Fine. Chester the artist, I haven't been able to get that ready yet. I just haven't had time. But we've still got time before things happen. What's a good, here, let's turn this off. All right, let's turn desktop audio on. Let's mute the mixer, and let's hit, actually, I feel like we could probably just listen to Light Bath the whole time. Let's check out Light Bath. Stand by. Stand by. What do I get from here? Yeah, this is gonna be pretty good. Light Bath is great. So you guys should be able to hear it a little bit. By the way, you guys, Frozen Scone. Thank you for the sub. Those of you, so like, raise your hand if you were watching on Wednesday night and you remember the bit with the woman with hourglass eyes. Yeah, Steve remembers. Intelligent Dice remembers. Yeah. So some of you are gonna love this, and this is kind of a thing that I love doing that maybe sets my game apart from other games. I don't think, like I've said before, I think I'm a pretty average dungeon master. But I think this is something that I do that most DMs either don't do or don't really have the opportunity to do. So there were a couple of it's hard to describe what's happening here. There were a couple of visions that you guys saw. You guys saw the woman with hourglass eyes, and you saw the dead lady. Well, the dead lady was me setting something up, but also rewarding you folks who've been watching the stream for watching the world building stream. Right, because the world building stream, we've talked a lot about Lady Valletta, the Duchess Lenore, and who she is and what her motivation is. And so a lot of you folks, if you were watching and you got to that point, you were like, oh, it's the dead lady. And then I not only did I reference the stream, and set up something. So people who've been watching the world building stream went, oh, I know who that is. People who've been reading Strongholds and Followers should have, and some of them did, recognize Lady Zorgan, who works. It turns out people in the stream were like, I don't understand. How was it that the dead lady was able to enact this crazy ritual and annihilate an entire city and bring them back as zombies inadvertently when she's trying to raise her husband? And it's like, well, now you know, because those of you who have Strongholds and Followers know it's because she has the Codex Mortis. That's why Lady Zorgan can work for her. Well, who was the woman before that? In the forest, in the carts? I've been running D&D for my friend Matt O'Driscoll. And that's going to go up online in about 3 weeks. We'll upload the first episode of that. And when you watch that, you'll get another reward, and you'll find out that all of these things, the world building streams, Strongholds and Followers, the chain, and Matt O'Driscoll D&D are all linked. They're all happening in the same world, and they all have repercussions. And the threads maybe they'll never connect, right? There's no reason to expect the characters in OD&D to ever meet the characters in the chain. They're in different parts of the world, but you will discover they are all connected, and the events of one have cascade effects to the other. So that's something I love doing. I've been doing that my whole life, running several games at once and having the things in one affect the other. 4 months in a row makes me very happy. Double Edge Zero. I'm glad you like the stream. Okay. Did the apple solo live? Well, you have to stay tuned to find out. Okay. So how many people are watching the live stream? A lot. So it's already 11:30. We've got about, what is it? How long is it till 2 o'clock? So 2.5 hours. I used to only be able to stream for about an hour at a time, and I would just get wiped out because being on, especially after work and stuff like that was wipe me out. But we've gotten to the point now where I can stream almost, it seems like, indefinitely sometimes. So my cabbages. Take it easy, Durhawk. So we need to know something about Shirome and who her lieutenants are and who works for her. So obviously, the Fulcrum. Okay, so let's talk about who the Fulcrum are. The Fulcrum are the Assayers Guild. They set, what's the word I'm looking for? They set exchange rates. So the docks, oh look, we have it right here, the exchange. Oh my God, I was literally about to say the exchange is going to be so important. Like the where you can, people arriving in capital can, I gotta make a note. Just, but boop, a whole bunch of brain cells fired. I'm like, if I don't write this down, I'm gonna forget. I was literally thinking it's important. The exchange is gonna end up being so important for these guys. I may have to change one of their power centers to make it an exchange. And then I went like, oh look, old Matt was ahead of current Matt, and so there already is that. So the exchange is super important, but also you can invest. It's very modern. People don't know. Go read I, Claudius by Robert Graves. You could, if you were a Roman citizen, you could decide you wanted to move to Egypt, to North Africa, when it was ruled by Cleopatra, when it was under, Roman rule, basically. And you could tell your investment manager to sell all of your investments in wheat and invest in barley futures. You could do all that stuff in ancient Rome. So that note, that's not, whoa. Excuse me, yeah. So you're gonna be able to do that kind of stuff in capital. There will be people who, for the docks, the reason they come to the docks, the reason you can go there and see people from all over capital is because especially very wealthy people and people from other countries want to have a voice on the exchange. Stand by. What was the name of the book again? Which book? The Codex Mortis? Strongholds and Followers? Strongholds and Followers? No, the name of the book he said. No, I would not say the docs are disciplined or organized. In fact, I think the other way. Oh, I, Claudius. Yeah, I, Claudius is great. Robert Graves. The book, I, Claudius. What's the topic of this specific stream? Well, I think isn't there a thing that says what the topic is? Hopefully Mubot is working. So yeah, you can do all sorts of stuff with the exchange. So at some point we're gonna talk about that. Let's move this here down. So who runs the exchange? That's a good question. It's probably not Shirome. She's busy running the entire guild. It would be somebody important, and probably because, again, that notion of politely say it's a dwarf, right? Do we have a cool dwarf PC or NPC yet in the game? I don't think we do. We've got, a gemstone dragonborn NPC. We've got people from all over the world, but I definitely think that, like, she would trust a dwarf with the money. And so we're going to call this guy Zurok. Because the dwarves in my world have kind of, like, very Klingon-y names. Apollo 29A, this is the first time watching a world-building show. Well, I hope it is in some way useful. How long has this been on? I don't know. We're only really just getting started. Zurok the Lawgiver, is that a famous thing from something I just stole? It's worth typing this into the Googles to see, because every name you could think of, every name you might want to make up, every random collection of syllables and consonants, somebody's used somewhere for something. If you've read enough history or watched enough anime or read enough fantasy, there's been more fantasy published. There was more fantasy published in the 1970s that no one's ever heard of now than you could read in a lifetime. So it's out there somewhere. There's an NPC in World of Warcraft, but that's not a good enough reason not to use the name, because there's a billion NPCs in World of Warcraft. You're going to get a hit from that no matter what. And also, I'm Lord Durok. Well, I'm not saying it's not. And we can't get too hung up on this is a name somebody else has used somewhere else, because overwhelmingly there will be people who have never heard of that, whatever that thing is, never heard it. And for them, or even for people who have heard of it, once they're watching the show and they meet this character, it's just going to be the name of this character. That's something I learned as a kid. I was very unoriginal. It was fun. It was when you made D&D characters. When I first started off, all my D&D characters in my friend Brad's game were portmanteaus of names from Dune. And my friend Dave, all his characters were stolen from the Blood Guard from the Chronicles of Thomas Covenant. And it didn't occur to us that there was anything weird or strange about having character names that weren't original. For us, it was just like, putting a Rush sticker on your folder. It was just a way to personalize your character. And I knew that Kale was a character from these books, but after about half an hour of playing with Dave's PC, Kale became the name of Dave's PC, and that was it. There was a transfer, right? And so that's why I don't get super hung up on, is this a name that someone else has done? So what is a good title for, and I'm not even saying this is somebody the heroes are ever going to meet. I don't know. I don't have any understanding of, that's probably for the next stream or maybe the stream after that, of what's the player-facing experience at the docks? Or what's the player-facing experience of dealing with the Fulcrum? I don't know. But the more I know of this foundation, we're laying this foundation, the more I know about that, the easier it is for me to improv stuff like this. I think when you see the campaign diary, you might be surprised at how much of what happened on Wednesday night I made up. I improv'd in the moment. You might not be surprised, depending on your thing. So what's... what do you call the people who work at the stock exchange? Probably something like a director, right? I think like, no, I mean like if you imagine, not like a regular, not a trader, but I mean like, imagine like, when they ring the bell and there's a whole bunch of old white dudes standing in front of a bunch of clocks. Who are those guys and what are their titles, right? And what would be a cool title that would sound not medieval, not fantasy, sound modern and about cash and investment and stuff like that? Commissioners, not bad. Commissioner's not bad. It's fucking raining like a motherfucker outside. And it's windy too. Chairman, people seem to like chairman. I like director, chairman of the Exchequer. Yeah, okay, Zurok. But he's not just the chairman, right? Chairman's great. A+. However, now that we've gotten to chairman, which is a pretty modern term, it's not something I think you would expect to find in the 11th century. Now that we've gotten to chairman, let's give it some fantasy, right? He's the Lord Chairman of the, let's put a blank here, exchange. Because I need to know, what was this exchange called before, like what's the name of this district, for instance? I don't know. We know the name, that we know that it's the Blues, or the Blue Hill District is where House Alvaro and the University are. We did a lot of that. Well, they have. I'm sure they have brokers. There are people who are brokers, but yeah. Is he a lord? Yeah, no, he literally is a lord. He has. He's a minor noble. That's the power of Shirome, because thanks to, by the way, the Fulcrum, who makes all the money, they were able to buy their way into the nobility, and that's maybe why the prince was assassinated, because he sold three duchies, 3 dukedoms, which grant them access to the Lord's Privy Council, which means they're now part of the government. So Shirome is now one of the 7 people who run the city. And because she is now a noble, and we'll talk about that, I guess, because she is now, part of that was she was buying a noble title, right? Now she has the capacity to make other nobles. So that's why Xerox is the Lord Chairman of the Exchequer. Now it's going to be a hereditary title, possibly. Let's see, what is a good name for this district? I'm just going to write this down so that I remember later on that this is the thing I'm trying to figure out. Let's just look up the word docks. We're going to look up the word docks, maybe also wharf. And just see what other words are there. Maybe there are some antique, ancient words that we can use. I'm a big fan of quay. I like that. I like the pilings. That sounds good. Yeah. Piers, warehouses, these are all good. A wharf, a quay, a staith. I like that. What's that? Never heard that word before. Staith. I am already on the cusp of, from Old Norse, paging Dr. Cowboy Viking, obsolete, a shore or riverbank. This district is called the Staithes. Right? And that comes from this old word, the Staiths, which is what they used to call it because it used to be the shoreline, and it's just a nickname, So that's how I like to name things. So people in Capital, they will refer to the docks as the stays, and they don't know why. They have no idea. They're not linguists, right? People who want to talk about how words are pronounced are in, I think you found the wrong chat. This is not the getting super worked up about pronunciation, your grammar school teacher chat. This is the MCDM Worldbuilding chat. How do you say something 2 ways at the same time? Concatenator. Go look up the pen-pin dichotomy and you'll find out. Well, Nemstark, I can't stop them. But I think generally there's only maybe like one person in the entire hey, the giant monster though. There's only really one person in the entire party who would even bother watching this stream. And they would probably only watch like 5 or 10 minutes of it. They wouldn't watch the whole thing. So there's not really any danger of my players watching this. They might watch the campaign diary, but they shouldn't. But they probably will. But then they'll think, that was dumb. Why did I do that? I regret this. And then they'll stop. But don't worry. All these players except Tom, all these players except Tom have been in my games when I've been doing campaign diaries before. They know the drill. They know what it's like. So don't worry about that. So I'm almost sort of wondering if the Stays is a nickname, if there's like an official name for the district. I think there probably is. I think it's Staithline. And so in official documents, it would probably say state line. And there would be a lot of people in Capital, a lot of people who live and work on the docks who just don't know that. You know, how many people in Queens know why it's called Queens? Actually, probably a lot of them, because they probably talk about it in grammar school, right? Grade school. But how many people outside who aren't part of that tradition know that? Me? Not me. Okay. So he is the chairman of the Stays Exchange. Ooh, Google has done something really annoying with my insert key, and I bet I cannot unfuck it. Nope, it worked. Do I like that? I liked it when it was the name of the docks. But I don't think it's a good name. I don't think it's a good name for the exchange. Doesn't sound. I think we haven't solved that problem. We know what the name of the district is. I like that. But we haven't solved the problem. The State Line Exchange, actually, yeah, I do like that. Yeah, actually, yeah, well, I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why I had to go to chat. Thank you, chat. But maybe it's just early. Maybe I haven't had enough go juice. But yeah, State Line Exchange sounds. The State Line Exchange. So that sounds official and proper and kind of like it's got a history to it. Whereas the Stays sounds like, and probably a lot of people don't know they're the same thing. Like a lot of people don't know that Istanbul and Constantinople are basically the same word because they sound so different. Scout Daily hit the nose right on the head. Thank you for being here. Now it sounds fancy enough for people to be pretentious over. Yes. Yes, really, Steve Voss, go look it up. Well, they didn't really change it. That's the thing, Nerdy Simulation. It's just, yeah. Yeah, the Four Freshmen did a song about it, I believe, which I quite like. So Zurok is the Lord Chairman of the State Line Exchange, and that's where this is where like it's probably I think there's maybe only I think there's maybe only 3 exchanges in the entire world. Right, there's another exchange in this is, and by the way, it's funny because I didn't even think about this, but I was just about to say there's another exchange. There's another exchange in Higara because I'm just thinking about which regions of my world are civilized enough to have currency exchanges and investment areas, investment portfolio places, and Higara is definitely one of them. I don't know if there's another one. There should be, though, and it might be in Corsair, because Corsair went from being like desert nomads to, you know, discovering calculus in like almost one generation. Did Black Bottom have one? No. Those guys, it would take, if you tried to explain what like a futures market was to somebody in Black Bottom, their eyes would cross. You're awesome, Matt. No, Terra Shard, you are awesome. You're awesome. You think I'm awesome, but it's only because I got these cool lights. That's all. And I got the blinking lights and I got the command center here. That's all. It just makes me look awesome. I'm not actually awesome. I'm just a random schmuck. Actually, I was at the gym, my trainer, we were working out, and he's like, let's not do this. Let's not do this hard thing. Let's do this easy thing. And I'm like, I don't want to do the easy thing. Let's do the hard thing. And he's like, you sure? And I'm like, man, I didn't come here to be a schmuck. And Tom Schmuck was standing like 8 feet away from me. And he went, ahem, hem. Look at them gnashes. So, yeah. Schmuck's an actual last name? Yes. Is there no exchange on Ix? No. Many machines on Ix, but no exchange. These are for the lights. Oh, thank you. Wow, Winter Drake. Winter Drake 107, I assume this was during the live stream. 11,000 bits. I think that's $110 or something. Lars is super excited for King. You guys should, this is something unexpected. Is there an exchange in Alloy? 100%. There is definitely an exchange in Alloy. There may be the only interdimensional, interdimensional exchange. Fuck, I was going to say something super interesting. Is Lars excited for King? Lars is doing something unprovoked, unsuggested, just on his own, but he went into the patron Discord the MCDM Discord. There's a sub for supporters. If you're a Twitch subscriber, if you're a patron supporter, you get access to this. It's anybody can read it. It's a publicly accessible. You just can't post in it unless you're one of these two categories, unless you're a supporter. And Lars just went in there and said, "Hey, what kind of cleric should I be?" And he was talking to me about what chat was saying. So, what? Whoa, that was weird. I think all the lights went out for a second. I hope everybody's okay. And he listened. He came and said, "Wow, that chat thinks I should do this, blah, blah, this, and this, and the other thing." And I was like, well, I mean, and this is what I told Larks, by the way, when it comes to King and what kind of cleric he's going to be. He's like, "Yeah, but by the time I'm 15th level," I'm like, no, don't, look. There's almost no way. Like, the odds of this campaign lasting to level 15 are microscopic, just historically. I mean, the deck is stacked in its favor, right? We have this entire infrastructure set up to allow a campaign to persist for 3 years. That'd be great. But of all the campaigns I've run, only 3 of them in 20 years, 30 years, have lasted that long. So play the character you're going to have fun playing next week. Play the dude you will have fun playing next week. Don't think about level 15. You may never get there. And he went, and that seemed to have an influence on him. But yeah, there was definitely it was really neat seeing people in chat talking to Lars and Lars watching and responding and engaging. I thought that was really neat. His character lasted 1 round. Listen, Lars and I have played a lot of, bang and epic spell battles, and it's not unusual to not even get a turn in those games. So, it was 2 rounds. Let's see. What are we talking about? There's another exchange in Nagara, and there's one in Corsair. There is one in Alloy, but Alloy is not. Well, I'm glad you're baking while I'm streaming, Schmelia. Lars seemed upset that he couldn't do anything for the entire first session. I think you're reading him wrong. I think he was upset that the other players weren't listening to him when he was telling them to leave, to retreat, and don't waste the Javelin Lightning. I was not watching chat, Bloodmerk, but I know that they did because other people told me. Did I miss anything important? No, not really. We've made good progress. We figured out what the docks are called. That was easy. And I think at this point, I almost feel like we're going to stop doing world building streams at some point, right? And that may be in the next couple of weeks. We may be nearing the end of this, because my goal, and I know people don't like this, but I apologize, but it's my content. I'm responsible. I'm the one that has to live inside my head. The thing we're trying to do is make it so that people, if people want to know how does Matt do stuff, they can find out. And if you've been watching, I think you know now. You understand the process that I use to make stuff up. And that's my only goal. My goal isn't that we all make these things together. This is not collaborous, right? Although I do consult chat for stuff, and that's fun. My goal is only that you understand my thought process. And I feel like given all the Rioja world building streams, starting with all the gods and the culture that we've done, that you know that now, right? So at that point we can stop. Because if you watch these streams and you have any interest in how I do things, and by the way, the only virtue in doing it my way is that I have learned a lot in 30 years of doing this, and I've developed my own techniques. That's not the same as saying you should use my techniques, only that I've gone down one path a long way. If that's a path that interests you, then you can kind of get ahead of the game by going, well, how does Matt? Now I don't have to. I'll just do what Matt does. But you could have your own path that doesn't have anything to do with the way I do things and would be just as valid and just as interesting and probably more interesting to somebody like me. So anyway, that makes sense? Uncle Peter D&D, yeah, I think that skill challenges are going to be a big part of the game because I love them and they're a great kind of A-team scene montage way of doing stuff, and it makes it easy for people, the players and people watching, to imagine the cinematic sequence. But I definitely think, there are better ways to do it. Like, the players need to kind of grok skill challenges, just like anything else. They need to grok it, and then they'll really start paying attention to it. Oh yeah, Tom was like, Tom loved it, wouldn't stop talking about it, and felt like he goes, this is literally the 4th session of D&D, including the Danger Room scenario I ran for him last week that I've ever played, and he goes, I feel like, anyway. Yeah, well, see, Flenser, skill challenges are one of those things that every time we talk about them, some people are like, yeah, I use them and they're great. Some people are like, oh, I get it now. Oh, I want to try it. That's amazing. And it doesn't matter how much we talk about it or how far into it we go. There's always some people who will watch and be like, I don't get it. And I'm like, all right, well, we're just going to keep doing it. And every time we do a video on skill challenges or I show off a skill challenge, that group of, I don't get it, gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So there's something about them. It's their abstract nature and the kind of free-form tool set that they provide you, which is incredibly powerful. That is the reason some people don't get it, right? Because it's not just a list of, it's not something you can go to in the player's handbook and there's a chart and it just says pick one of these. So it takes a while for people to kind of get behind it. And that being said, it's not a design that is like, there's no design that is universally loved by anybody, They are, dear Vikingtron. They're also a great way, they're not just a great way, skill challenges aren't just a great way to make great epic cinematic moments. They're a great way to get the players from point A to point B, which is often important, and allow them to make choices and use their skills and have mechanical benefits, but not get bogged down in things like squares of movement, right? Like, how far is it to the docks? Well, it's 30,000 squares. And here's a map of the city. Which streets are you going to go down? That's how we would have done it in 1988. Here's a map of the city, which took me 6 years to make, and I had to pay a cartographer to draw it. And now, which path are you going to take? And you're going to have to do it movement by movement and round by round. And then 4 hours later, you get there. That's where I could not go back to that. It's ridiculous. Do you think your players appreciate the level of detail you go into when creating your settings? Yeah, actually I do. I do think they appreciate the level of detail. They definitely feel like Matt's world is a real place and that it's not just a bunch of stuff I'm making up, that there's this box that contains this real fake thing that I open up and look into. I think they all like that. Yeah. I don't think that's the same as saying they think all my ideas are neat. But they appreciate Sting. I love his music. I don't listen to it, but I appreciate that he makes it. That makes sense. Yeah, Jack of all apocalypse. Yeah, he gets it. He was there. I love how many people, I picked the right person to kill in the stream because Lars' resting bitch face is the most resting of bitch faces. All right, so we're not making a lot. We have made a lot of progress, but then we bogged down. So we know a little bit about the exchange. We know that Zurok is the Lord Chairman. He's a dwarf. The funny thing is I didn't even have to write down he's a dwarf because in my world, if your name is Zurok, you're a dwarf, right? Zurok, male dwarf. But we don't know much about Zurok. We know what the name of the district is. That's good to know. Do we need to know much about Zurok, or do we have other stuff to do? I think we have other stuff to do. Who runs the bank? I can tell you out of the gate, it is a woman. It's somebody that Shirome picked to run it, and she's probably a Riohan woman. Is Zurok on the level, or is he corrupt? Of course he's on the level. How many times have you killed Lars now in total? That's a good question. Endavari is still alive. I think. Endavari is still alive. Sigurd is still alive. Solar Wind Panel is still alive. I think this is the first time. Yeah, I don't know why people don't do that charisma save. This is a skill challenge. Be like, oh, okay, I get it. How would you do it otherwise? Solar Wind Panel? Gertz! Solar Wind Panel? Lars's previous character before the commander was Salar Bearmantle. Salar Bearmantle, which is great. And I think it was Gertz, actually, who's in this chat, who was a player, who called him Solar Wind Panel. Yeah. So the bank is run by a Rohan woman. So let's go and open up our handy-dandy book of names here. And let's go to, this is Gary Gygax's Extraordinary, let's actually show it on, you guys can see it. This is a legit product. This is not a pirated PDF that I bought, I think, Drive Through RPG. And I think I have it in hardcover, actually. It's not written by Gary Gygax, credit where it's due, it's just his brand. It's written by Malcolm Bowers. And it's literally just a list, let's show it off. It's a list of names from different parts of the world. So we can, it's not indexed, annoyingly, unlike Strongholds and Followers. So I can't click on these things, but we could go to, if we go to Portuguese or Spanish, we're gonna get a lot of very similar names, as it turns out. Let's go to page 104. All right. And grab a female Riojan name. There's some dope stuff happening in this light bath. Oh, it's alive. It's this guy with, it's only 3 minutes long. Stand by, sorry. $500 for that book on Amazon. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you. If I need some spare cash, I can sell this hardcover. C.A. Berlitz, did you piss me off? People piss me off all the time. That's not remarkable. I think I used Leonor somewhere else for something. Carlotta? Have we not already done a Carlotta? Let's see. What about, let's get back to, how about 108? Helmed 108! 108. All right. We're gonna get more names this way. These are good names. These are awesome names. I like that. Fausta. Zandimion. Zandimion! Once again, Zandimion! You have returned. Fool! Sorry. I like Fausta. I don't know why. Maybe because I'm a huge Goethe fan. Let's give her a last name. Let's make her noble. And let's head to, actually, let's stay here with female personal names. Are there going to be any? Probably not. Let's go to our trusty friend Caravaggio. This is another way that I do a lot of. Matt, when is the campaign diary? I don't know. Probably Monday. Probably Monday. I've already recorded it. So here we have a website that, this is Wikipedia, I don't know why I just described it that way. This is kind of a launching point for me for a lot of Riojan stuff, because Caravaggio is one of my favorite painters, but he also, and I don't know anything about art history, by the way, so me liking Caravaggio is not significant. But he has a great painting called The Card Sharps, which to me is everything you need to know about Rioja, and it's, of course, not listed in here. I can't call it Borges. That would be ridiculous. So what I do is I search through, I start here and I search through this guy's Wikipedia entry, because he not only lived in the right time and place, but was also knew the right people. That to me is what makes Rioja Rioja. And so I'll just start clicking on people that he knew, met, his relatives and stuff like that, just to get a good, oh, here's an architect. Ooh, Miniti, the Sicilian artist. I do this all the time, right? So, the head of the bank is it Fausta or Faustini? Is there a way to download your tracks from SoundCloud? I don't know. I have no idea. It is a great painting. The Assassination of St. Matthew is amazing. When will the Twitch stream be on YouTube? Let's see. Let's find out together. Nope, still not. We're still not done rendering. It's YouTube has it, but YouTube does not want to give it to us yet because it's in 4K. Yeah, you can watch the video on demand on Twitch. I don't know why people don't do that, but it's not up to me to decide how they do stuff. Fausta Miniti. So again, a noble, a very minor noble, right? Like a knight, right? Of whom there are lots. Yeah, YouTube takes, for some reason, I even went and looked. I looked it up, like, why is it taking so long? Well, when you upload 3 hours of 4K footage, YouTube is like, you go to the back of the line. I'm YouTube, I got stuff to do, and worrying about 3 hours of 4K footage is not. Oh look, I'm at live stream. Whoa. Something crazy just happened. I don't know why it, Murder Meatball, thank you very much. Very nice things. We do have great chemistry. I'm very lucky in my friends. So I don't know why it decided to delete your message. Please don't fill up I guess it was just too long a message is what Mubot thinks. I get it. You know what? Those blinking lights do make you seem cool. I agree. That's why I got them. If I spend enough time on my hair and I have enough blinking lights, then people think I'm cool. That's not true. People don't think I'm cool. Lady Fausta Benini is the... So, doesn't the chairman also run a bank? Let's call her president. Just give it a straightforward name. Let's not overthink it. So the bank is here. You big brothered me into we were playing D&D once, and Lars and I were sniping at each other, which is pretty typical of me. I'm a very immature person. And we were arguing about some rule or something, or some language, or something I had said, or whether I said it or not. And Silvano, who's a good friend of ours, said, "Matt, do you have brothers?" And I was like, "No, I'm an only child." He goes, "Wow," because I'm getting a serious older brother vibe off of you right now. Because I was basically bullying Larks. Somebody just asked a good question. Kvach, Imperial, the Imperial Bank or Capital? The Prince's Bank. And now Lady Fausta Miniti runs it. Was that Ajax first? Yeah, I don't think anyone's ever met Ajax before. Are you planning on to replace the streams that are going away with anything to keep the revenue stream strong from subs? I don't really think that way, Linus. I don't think about, oh, we're not doing this anymore. How will we keep the revenue going? I think about, we've got all this technology and the set and all the cameras, and we have all these opportunities. What would be fun to do, and what would engage an audience? And I think like OD&D is going to be part of that, so that'll be fun. And I think that OD&D will probably will upload on the weekends, so you get a Wednesday night live stream and then the pre-recorded playing D&D with Matt O'Driscoll. That is a very different game. I think a lot of people tuned in to watch my game expecting me to be running some kind of beginner D&D game, because that's kind of my YouTube channel is what's that about. But I'm not a beginner DM. I ran the most balls out, high level, conspiracy with players, all this great presentation, hot start in media ray game I could think of. And that turned some people off because that's not what they expected, and that's not what they wanted to tune in for. Well, guess what? OD&D is that game. Super relaxed, super laid back, first level, really primitive, super low production values. But yeah. Yes, Lore Master. Yeah, in fact, we've already done one. We recorded a maker video with Dave from Trenchworks, who came down, and we hatched some dragon eggs together and birthed some dragons. We've already recorded that, and the only reason it hasn't gone up yet is because we had a stream to launch. So, OD&D is in AD&D? No, OD&D is in D&D with my friend OD. Any great Analines in OD&D? I don't know, maybe not as good. I don't know if I'm ever going to see another game as cool as... I don't know if I'll ever see another line as cool as I don't take orders from dead men. That made me so happy when Anna said that, because I was worried that Anna was going to feel intimidated. She's having so much fun playing D&D with Matt O'Driscoll. And it's a very different group. The chemistry in OD&D is very different than the chemistry in the chain. And I was afraid that she would kind of end up taking a back seat in the chain. But nope, she's not. She's 100% not. Judge is going to be like one of the, we're only going to have like, I think, one sort of quasi audience member ultimately in that group. That makes me really happy. Any updates on the Time Rider? No, but I'm thinking about getting a ZDSP. I'm thinking about replacing my Big Sky and selling it. So if you want to buy a Big Sky, cheap. So Lady Fausta Miniti, the president of the Imperial Bank of Capital, that's good. So we know that there's an Imperial Bank of Capital, that's good. We know the district is the stays. She's in charge of the bank. I'm not super worried about the tannery. There is one. I don't think it's going to be a dramatic thing, but there's a lot of, the tannery is what causes the docks to smell the way it does. Did you enjoy the results of the audience-involved straw poll? I hope I covered the poll. I think I did. Yeah, I think I did in the video. I think you might be right, Linus, but he's growing. He's growing into it. He already did more role-playing than I've seen him do before. That was really cool. I liked it. Look, today's not going to get any better. It's only downhill from here, man. Somebody said something. Yeah, I thought the audience poll went incredibly well. The only problem was 99% of people did not get to vote. Like, I think only 160 people voted out of 11,000 people watching. So I think maybe there were only 7,000 people watching at that point. Hey, Zeus, I hope you like it. I think you will. I think you'll enjoy reading it. So that's the problem. The problem is, I don't think most people watching realized that their votes weren't being counted because they were voting in chat. They just assumed we had some bot or something. We don't. We had a straw poll up, and you couldn't see the link unless you happened to be watching when it went boop, boop. So we'll do better with that. But 160 people voted, and they decided, and that's. So I thought that was super cool. I liked that a lot. I also liked I enjoyed being able to read the comments from chat filtered by our moderators. They did a really good job of putting awesome quotes in front of me. Only problem was we couldn't figure out how to get alerts working on our devices. That's a problem. So I had to have an iPad instead of just using my phone and have it and just say, only alert me when this Discord sends me a message, which would be pretty infrequent. And I could just go, oh, look at my phone. I had to be constantly checking it, which made me distracted. And people didn't like that. They didn't like the fact that I was distracted checking my phone. But I am a pretty distracted dungeon master. That's something I should probably get better at. I think one of the things I'm looking forward to with the stream is being made aware of stuff like, I shouldn't do that. And of course, when you say that, instantly people are going to want to pick apart everything you do. That's not fun. But there are definitely things like paying more attention to the player. But I have a long history of the players are going to spend the next 20 minutes arguing about something. I'm going to go make some notes and look stuff up and get the next encounter ready. And then I'm going to turn to them and go, okay, what are you guys doing? And make them explain it to me again. Because that's how I filter the signal from the noise. Otherwise, I don't know what the hell you guys are doing. You guys have just pitched 8 different things, and I don't know which one's actually happening. A goblin should run the tannery. Holy shit, I'm glad I went. It's a good name for a goblin. When's the campaign diary coming out? I'm guessing Monday. Already recorded. I want to say Borgle. I don't know if that's the best name for a goblin, but. Well, we used to stream this on Dungeons and Dragons, but what would happen is people would show up and say, "You're not playing D&D. What's this?" So, I felt like we're probably going to do the same thing for NetHack in the future, because a lot of people would, for some reason, show up in the NetHack stream wanting to watch NetHack and have no idea who I am. And so when we would spend half an hour talking about movies or copyright law, and then take 3 turns, go move, and then spend another half an hour talking about Wittgenstein, people were angry. They were like, "What's this? Play some fucking NetHack." And I was like, "Oh shit, sorry." So I think that's misleading to you get it. Is Phil a longtime player of yours? Not as long as Lars. Not as long as Lars. Lars, I've been playing with longer, but yeah, I've known Phil since 2011. good friend of mine, and I love having him at my table because he and I are the same age and we have a lot of the same history and traditions of D&D, which is always nice. Plus, Phil's one of those, yeah, it's always good to have somebody like Phil at the table. What am I trying to get done today? It's already 12 o'clock. We've learned some stuff. And of course, actually, we should probably move this forward here. This is one of the reasons that the nobles hate the guilds, is because they do stuff like they employ non-human races, like, you know. Does anyone else play? That's what Laughing Throws. That's what I thought. Robo Eel. Thank you for the sub. Excuse me. Empocarium. That's a good idea. Cranio Dad, thank you for the sub. That Austrian guy, well, I've often threatened to put Jerry in a game and do something cool with him. I did not, Ash. I apologize. But I probably already know it. I know quite a lot about that dude. Your wife wizard! Your life wizard! Why isn't it Wiz for Wizard? Oh yeah, he did a mod for Oblivion. Yeah. I knew that. You gotta wake up early in the morning to beat me on a Terry Pratchett fact. Silver Scotius. Thank you for the sub. Well, the thing about the tannery is it's a place where they basically melt horses into goop to make gelatin and all sorts of other chemicals that you need in dyes. It's where you get a lot of lye and stuff like that. So it's going to be super fragrant. And goblins and those guys. So they hire a bunch of people that just don't care about that kind of stuff. The horse meltery. I saw that Dad Austrian guy before Mubot could filter you. I'm glad you liked the stream. I was incredibly amazed that people were able to watch, and then that it seemed... we'll see how it goes moving forward, because obviously when you start a stream with 11,000 people watching, and it also happens to be highly cinematic, it's a lot easier to watch, because even though this one player might take half an hour to take their turn, there's still a lot of me doing the describing and monologuing when we're actually playing D&D, which starts next week. Next week's Wednesday is not... It's regular everyday D&D, not cinematics and scripted stuff. Then it's going to be a lot less watchable, I think, but people seem to have a good time watching. So we got the tannery, we got the bank, we got the exchange. Let's bold these things so we know what we're talking about. I feel like we're learning a lot about this. We still don't know who Shirome's kind of second in command is. Probably, you know what? I think we need a Vanagarian woman. Again, the theme of the guilds is that they're not they're the opposite of the straight white dudes. So the guilds they don't care what this is the Michael Caine thing. You guys know the Michael Caine story, right? So Michael Caine was famous to a huge inspiration to a whole generation of actors in England because he was lower class. He was lower class and he made it. And he comes to Hollywood and he starts doing Hollywood movies. And he talks all the time about how where have you gotten so far? So far? MCDM, where have you gotten so far? I don't know what that is in reaction to. Why not a polar bear person? There are those, Steve Voss, the Rook. And he talks about how Hollywood, he's like, Hollywood's great. I love Hollywood. Hollywood's much better than the British film industry. In the British film industry, they never let you forget where you came from. Right, because Michael Caine speaks with what a rich person in England, or I should say a high-class person in England, would recognize as being a lower-class accent. And so it didn't matter how successful he was as an actor. It didn't matter how much money he had. There were always people in the British film industry who would remind him that he came from nothing and he was lower class. He goes, in America, all they care about is how much do you cost. That's it. Right? And so guys like Bob Hoskins famously saw Michael Caine on screen using his and Alfie, for instance, using his normal everyday accent, and he was allowed, that's the phrase they would use, that's the language they were used, he was allowed to be an actor. Because that was, that's a class system. It's not actually about how much people say, like, oh, America does have a class system. Nobody talks about it. It's about money. No, we don't have a class system. That's the opposite. Having money is all that matters in America. Whereas when you have a class system, it doesn't matter if you have money or not. It's about where were you born, right? What school did you go to? Who was your family? What's your accent and stuff like that. So that's the thing that the nobles hate about the guilds, is that somebody like Michael Caine can end up running the tannery or whatever, right? And they're like the British film industry. So the old school tie, they used to call it. So let's go look up. So her right hand man is, in this case, a woman, and Shirome is a slight woman, very fine features, classic Higaran, somebody in a different, if her life had gone in a different way, the great artist of the age would be painting her face on porcelain, but she's perfectly happy that it didn't. She would have hated that life. So now we need a Vanagarian name. Here we go. So let's go here to what are we looking for? Anglo-Saxon? That's probably not bad, but for Vanagar, we want Celtic. We want Dr. Cowboy Vikings. What we want? Here we go. Medieval Norwegian. So what is here is a female personal name. Medieval Norwegian. This is even better. Male common, female common. Dorte. I like that. Olava. That's pretty good. I like Olava. I like Dorte. DSTP, thank you for the sub. Welcome aboard. Alejandrom P4. I have, yeah. I have, Ash. Yeah, he did it. He did the thing about how everyone does his accent. He goes, even I can do my accent. Even I can do Michael Caine. Olava? Yeah, let's do Olava. She's like 6 feet. She's like 6 feet tall. I don't think she is, though, necessarily. But definitely intimidating. Harlequin Red Sky says, why not make this person Shirome's wife? I'm sort of philosophically opposed to that everybody needs to be in a relationship thing. That's one of the things that always bugged me about Next Generation and Star Trek and stuff, is that people can't just be single. And for me, like, one of the things that's the hallmark of the nobility is it's all about you have to get married and have a family and have offspring. But one of the hallmarks of the guilds is these are people who are this is their career. And these career people tend to, well, maybe I'm projecting, but these career people tend not to have families. So, not that they can't, not that they couldn't. Certainly no one in Rioja would bat an eye at that. But that's not something I tend to think about when I think of the guilds. I think of the guilds as being mostly people who are focused on business. This is their failing, ultimately, and the reason that Ajax is going to win if they don't get their shit together. So it's much more likely, for instance, that the players will meet Olava than they'll meet Shirome, because this is... so Shirome, what does Shirome do? What's the division of labor here? All right, so we've made really good progress, actually. I'm pretty happy with this, but there's some stuff I'd like to figure out. Do you have the time rider on modular grid, Dr. Daggerfall asks. I don't know. Do I? I don't think so. Olava Lamp. She's actually Irish. Her name is Olava. What is a bruiser exactly? Someone who's going to beat the shit out of you if you ask what's a bruiser. That's somebody who look at here. Oh, good lord. What are we looking at in the upper right? This is a spectral map of an exploding neutron star. Intelligent Dice just did a callback to one of my favorite stories of my friend Wallace. Do you want to get punched? So here's what I don't know about the fulcrum. Right? We know a lot about the fulcrum, and because I want to keep all this stuff on the screen, I'm going to start another column over here. Ultimately, I'm going to move these things around. I have to take a bio break somewhat urgently, but there are a couple things I want to figure out. Who is their security? Right? Who runs what's the thing we talked about at the very beginning of the stream, right? It's the who runs the docks? Well, Shirome runs the docks. My Saturday's going great, Zengrator. The customs, yeah, customs. I think customs and immigration. I think there's somebody in immigration that represents like one of the noble houses. Master, one noble, but like it's customs and immigration. They're one organization. Right, but they have like a director and a president, and these guys don't get along, right? Because the guildmaster runs customs, and what goods can be brought in, and what's the rate, how much do we charge for them, and what's the value-added tax we charge for them. But it's the noble that decides who gets to come into capital, and there are quotas, and those quotas, this person doesn't set the quotas. The quotas are set by the Privy Council, and that's why But I like that notion that even though we're here in the docks, and the docks is run by the guild, the influence of the nobles is present. The customs and immigration predates. It's part of the prince's cabinet, and it predates all of this central tension. So even though it falls under Shirome's brief, there's a little agent of the DSTP. Thank you very much for the gifted subs. Don't forget, there is a Patreon. It might be down right now. I don't know. But there's a Patreon. So all those folks who were like gifting subs, because there was at least one person who said this is the only way to support you right now. I've already bought Strongholds and Followers, and I already subscribed. So if I want to support MCDM, we have a Patreon, and we have already started thinking about cool stuff we can do with the Patreon as rewards. But Patreon's still down. Is it our Patreon or all of Patreon? Do any of the players want the DM? Yes, but I don't know if any. Okay, yes. Anna has already she ran the Delian Tomb for friends at her last job, which is pretty cool. And Phil ran for me and Jerry. That'd be great to watch, to get to see that game. And our friend Steve, and he invited, when a friend of ours moved out, he invited our friend Justin, who did a lot of the art that people really liked for Strongholds and Followers. And Phil's a better DM than I am, I think, frankly. And I don't think that's hard to be. But, and he's so much fun to have on the other side of the screen. And I sincerely hope, I think we moved the needle Wednesday night on getting Phil to run his game as an alternative, so that MCDM Presents on Wednesday night might take a hiatus for a while and not be the chain anymore and be Phil's game. That would be awesome. He was really worried about, streaming again, but because things have changed here in Matt Colville land between the last time I worked with Phil and we played games with him and now there's a whole lot more eyeballs on what we do, and I think that was causing Phil to have some second thoughts. But I think the way Wednesday night went helped. We may yet see him behind the screen, and then you get to see me play. Ha ha! Wouldn't that be great? Where can I get the lights you have? These are, exclamation point lights, yeah. Right? Aurora Nanoleaves. So people would be like, but I like the chain. I want to see more of that. Yeah, well, there will come a point where I need to take a break, I think. And wouldn't it be nice? And so I think the trade-off is, yeah, we're going to put the chain on hiatus for maybe, who knows, 6 weeks, maybe? I don't know. But you get to see me play. And that would be fun. And Phil's a super, super good DM. I think I'm a better player than I am a dungeon master. I think I'm a much better player than I am a dungeon master. I'm the kind of player that traditionally dungeon masters like having in their game. Because I take notes, I role play, I pay attention. I think that might be right, Sadie0000. So here are things I need to know, and I wanted to write these down before I went on my bio break, because it's only going to be like 5 minutes again. Playing a grung was fun, although that was a very interesting experience. That whole thing. So, what is her security like? Is that the same thing? Is security the same thing as intelligence? No. Customs immigration. So these are the cops, and this is one of the most important things we're going to talk about. And that might not happen until next week. We'll do some work on this, and then we might be done. Do some work on these 4 things, these 3 things, and then we might be done for today. But because I've got a division of labor, we got to do some things next week, and I think next week is going to be what is the player-facing experience. Do you think there was a lot of metagaming at the table? What do you guys think? Metagaming? Metagaming? What do you guys think? I think the only person who was really metagaming was Lars. Lars sort of recognized, he knew what was going on. He knew what was going on, and he was frustrated that the players wouldn't agree with him and be like, I know Matt, and I know that my character's going to die. That's the point, and I was sort of ready for it. So you guys need to do A, B, and C. And they were like, that's metagaming. We want to do what our character... We know that this is the end of the chain, we know that this is the point where we're beaten and there's a rout, and you're going to die. We get that. That's not the point. The point is, how would my character react to that? So I'm not just going to pick up and run. We're going to... Yeah. So Lars that's the reason he was frustrated, is because they wouldn't listen to him. But... so yeah, we're going to find out who are her cops, who are Shirome's cops, this is going to be super important, and who are her spies. And we're going to talk about customs immigration. That's going to be super important. When you show up, and I already know a little bit about this because I've run a whole campaign in Capital. It was a lot of fun. I guess 2 of them, actually. One of them was a solo game I ran. And this is part of this. So we're going to talk about customs immigration. When they get off the Rosso Cielo, you guys got the pun, right? I was worried people weren't going to get the pun. But I think it's now referenced. In the wiki. Yeah, Liger Zero Snyder got it. The name of the first stream was Red Sky at Morning, which is from that phrase, Red Sky at Morning, Sailor Take Warning. But it was also the morning, it was dawn when everything went down. And Rosso Cielo, which is the ship they're desperately trying to get to, it's Riojan for Red Sky. Red Sky at Morning. And I was like, when I hit upon that, I was like, I want to have a cool title. And I wanted to just work. Red Sky at Morning is a cool title. Red Sky at Warning, Sailor Take Warning for the opening of the thing. But then also, I already knew, by the way, the Rosso Cielo has been in my campaign for like 10 years. Several different groups of players have been on the Rosso Cielo. Anyway. So I'm going to take a bio break. Those of you who are still here, I have no idea how many people are watching. Don't tell me, I don't want to know. And we'll put on some Time Rider. And this might be 5 minutes. 10 minutes, 5 minutes. I may get some broccoli. So let's turn off this, and let's turn this back up, and let's turn this to here. And I will see you in about 5 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Do do do. Ba-dum, ba-dum. All right, so no, I would never let. No, the players are in charge of the chain, not the chat. That being said, I'm looking forward to the next poll. I definitely already know what the next poll is going to be. So I apologize in advance because this microphone is good enough that it's going to pick up the crunchy noises when I eat my carrots. But you got to eat your carrots. You can't just not eat carrots just because we're streaming. Correct. And broccoli. Can't just not eat just because people are watching. All right. I have no idea, Optimist, and I'm never going to find out. That's going to be up to Jerry and Anna and those folks. I think one poll per stream is about right. Especially if it's the right poll. My goal is, and I'll learn this over time. We are world building today, yes. In fact, sorry, let me switch back to that. I gotta get another Elgato Stream Deck. We have to have 3 of those in this fucking place, and we only have 2. Skull Duggar T, I'm glad you liked it. A lot of people seem to really like the stream. That makes me really happy. It's not good. It's not a bad idea, Bogart Ramshackle. Fuck, what were we just talking about? God damage. Yeah, nerdy simulation. If I get my shit together, this is an important lesson. Is you don't, as a dungeon master, you don't have to hit a home run every time. Just try to get on base. Just try. This is important when you're doing a lot of things in life. I just want to get on base. I just want to get to first base. First base was launch the poll. Poll worked. People got it. It was fun. But now let's try to eventually get to second, third, fourth, and hit a home run, and we'll know if it's working. If I come up with polls that are not obvious, I want the viewers, whether they're the citizens of Black Bottom, the citizens of Capital, the crew of the Rosso Cielo, to have choices that aren't obvious. Right? And that's not going to be easy. It's going to take a while to get there. But if I can do that, then that's the good poll. A good poll is when I put you in the same position. I put the players in all the time where there isn't a right answer. There isn't a right answer. Help the chain or don't help the chain. No. So we'll see. Yeah, that's the idea. Is it's the law of unintended consequences. A big part of running Dungeons and Dragons, a big part of being a good dungeon master is mastering the law of unintended consequences. Yes, you can have what you want. My friend Wes wanted to throw a torch up in the air because it's at night and he's a human. He can't see without the torch. And he didn't want to put the torch down, so he wanted to throw a torch up in the air, shoot his bow, and then catch the torch. I was like, if you can make a ridiculously good acrobatics check, go for it. Now, obviously, the danger there is establishing a pattern. Letting him do it once means he could decide he wants to do it all the time. But I wasn't worried about that. And he didn't roll spectacularly high, and so the law of unintended consequences said that he was able to throw it up in the air and then shoot his bow, but then he had to make a dexterity save to see if he could avoid being hit in the head with his own torch. The law of unintended consequences. What would be the objective for a trajectory for viewership? I don't know. I don't have an idea for that. I think what's going to happen is you're going to see a slow tick down over time as people start to understand what it is we're doing, and they find watching a bunch of nerds playing, a bunch of just entirely average nerds playing pretty typical D&D, not much fun. So it's going to go like this, and then I think slowly over time it might start building up again. We'll see. I don't know. It doesn't have to. If it's a robust enough audience, it doesn't have to grow. It doesn't have to grow. If we have, I'm going to pick if we have a big audience, and we had a huge audience Wednesday, if we have a big audience and they're watching every week, then it doesn't really have to grow. We'll see. I'm not worried about it. What was the reason you elected not to play any music during the stream? Well, I don't know, because I didn't want to get a copyright strike, and I didn't want to have to worry about music. And those two things, those two things aren't compatible. I could have just played the normal music I play when we play D&D, but I think we've done this before. We've played D&D with my music in the background, and you could sort of hear it on Twitch, and we never got a copyright strike, so I'm not sure what's going on there, but we'll see. We'll see. So here we are. Yeah, I mean, it's when I think of growth, I think the goal of growth is to get to a certain... I don't know. We had a huge audience on Wednesday night. It's going to be weeks before we really understand what it means to be streaming on Wednesday nights. That's all. Do you not have time? Well, I mean, but it's not... I don't know how listenable that stuff is. We'll see. Take it easy, M. Stark. All right, so it's 12:42. We've done some good work, but I want to figure out who is in charge of the security on the docks. Right, that's the... well, I mean, but YouTube does, right? And these videos are going to go up on YouTube. So, speaking of which, let's see if we made any progress in munging the video. I bet not. I bet it's going to be tomorrow before we're at 4K. Still no high res. So who are the security? Who's in? What are they? They are the folks who make sure that the docks are very chaotic. They're certainly the most chaotic district in Capital. It's just a riot of different people from all over Orden. And so, but that's fine. Shirome doesn't bother her. She's used to chaos, and a certain amount of chaos she thinks is healthy. But it's not. You can and it's Rioja, and Riojans they like dueling at the drop of a hat. Why wait for the hat to drop? So that's normal and accepted in this culture. So there's got to be some kind of cops that keep it from tipping over from chaos into violence. That's a good idea. No, Arc, we may do that. This is not high quality. This is not high quality streaming that's happening right now. I'm trying to think of what are these guys called? Are they just called the constables? You know, I think maybe they're called the gold buttons. Let us do our text wrapping. X754 said something that doesn't make any sense. Well, I think that's something I want to deploy somewhere else. So, but what's their real name? This is what people call them. That's something. No, they work for the Fulcrum. The prince is dead, but he had his own guard. There's different security, different cops everywhere in the city. Glad you liked it. Digital Doom, lol. What's the real name of Shirome's cops? They're called the Buttons, or the Gold Buttons, or the Button Men. He's a Button Man because they have these gold buttons down there, down their shirts. But there's probably a real name. I got buttoned up. That's a good line. I like that. Got buttoned. God, that's good. You're hired. A+. What are the Prince's Guard doing now? It's a good question. I don't know. Language is so important. You guys, I think you guys see how important language is to me, and phrases like that, and understanding how proper names and obscure terminology gets turned into common phrases that lead to lots of slang. And that's how you get verisimilitude and different DMs. Some DMs are hyper focused on the cartography of their world, or some DMs are really focused on drawing. They're artists and they want to draw the different cultures and stuff like that. For me, language is a big part of it. Of course, it fucking is. I'm a writer. So now we're starting to get into the Port Authority. Actually, I like that. Wait, why is that silly? I like Port Authority. The Port Authority. Actually, that's probably a part of Customs. Customs probably has their own cops. I mean, I know that's New York, but it doesn't bother me. But there's a port, yeah, but that's the same reason there's a Port Authority here, is because it's a good name for it. Actually, maybe we don't want to call it, I don't mind calling it the Port Authority, but they don't call it the ports, they call it the dock. The dock authority. So these guys, there are fewer of them. These guys have their own cops. Right? So if you get arrested at Customs, it's probably not by the Button Men. The Button Men keep the district safe. So you get it. We're doing pretty good. I don't know what you watching this, and there are some people who are new to this, maybe their first stream, but for me, I consider this stream so far a success because we've actually learned quite a lot about another one of the factions. We know a lot about how they're structured, who's in charge, who the second command is, who runs the different assets they control, and we're starting to get into some of the player-facing stuff, like who, if a fight breaks out and the players get off the boat, who's going to be there? I like dock blocked, but that's a bit too modern, I think. Excuse me. So, but I still don't know what the real name for her, I guess it's probably going to be something like, is that a word? Constabulatory? Constables? Did I spell that right? Apparently. If I spelled it wrong, so did Google. I don't think so, actually. I think there's probably some, because Customs and Immigration is a kind of a dual a dual organization that has one person. One of the two people who run it, one of them is a noble Riohan, the other one works for the guilds, that there's probably quite a lot of headbutting between the buttons and the dock authority. Hello, Diadems 1970. 1970 was a great year. It produced a fantastic crop of Matt Colvilles. Actually, you know what? I don't think they're called the Line Authority. I don't think they're called the Dock Authority. I think they're called the Line Authority. They're called the Line Authority, and well, probably a lot of people don't know why until you go, State Line. And they're like, oh, right. Go, yeah, sure. But even then, a lot of people don't know that State Line is the proper name for this district. Yes, it did. A lot of these organizations existed before the guilds took over, and the process of the guilds taking over was slow, right? So these guys are linemen. There's a fucking amazing cover of Wichita Lineman. I mean, that's probably one of the most covered songs in history, but this is still it's gonna be fucking impossible to find it, but this is going to kill me. It's a soul singer who does it. I think it was actually a album of covers she did. Anyway, I like that. We're getting pretty good at figuring this stuff out, I think. So we know a little about the security. We don't know who runs it. That might be a thing for next week. It's almost 1 o'clock. We know a little bit about these guys. We know a little bit about these guys. We don't know anything about her security service. So let's figure out something about her security service. Left Catcher, we're just trying to figure out who runs the docks, what are the different organizations you would find in the docks, considering that each of the districts of capital is basically its own city. I once thought, and maybe if this were a novel, I would do this, but I would never do this to my players. I once thought that they would each have their own currency, but no, that's too crazy. They have their own cops, they have their own, the guilds, each guild has its own intelligence directorate. REM did a cover of Wichita Lineman? That's crazy. Never gonna find it. So let's see. Who makes sure that the other guilds and the other noble houses do not interfere with the docks? You rock! No, you rock. Lino Trifola. Are they out in the open or are they secret? Well, I mean, is the CIA out in the open or secret? Are you planning on doing a breakdown of the first session? Already did it, just haven't finished editing it. So this is a person we're going to talk about. Probably people know the CIA exists, but they don't find out what they were doing until long after the fact. So let me think about this. Whoever runs intelligence at the docks has to be somebody who's ruthless, right? Ship of the line comes from when they would literally line up. People have already asked Axon Hill for a Talking Dead thing for the chain, but I'm not convinced that there's demand for that yet. A lot of people watched, but that doesn't mean a lot of people are going to keep watching. But we already know who the host for something like that would be if we were going to do our own version of Talking Dead. And I think maybe we would do it, maybe not once a week. Maybe that's my compromise, is that there have been a lot of people who have asked for it, and I'm like, isn't that a little try hard for us at the stage we're at? But CW Gunner is correct. It would have to be OD. OD would be the host. I fucking love OD. So like once every other week, maybe? The chain, I don't know what the name of the thing is. It's probably the chain. Do you have Warforged in this setting? Not until somebody wants to play one. Not until somebody wants to play one. So maybe it's her, like, maybe it's, somebody said like a ninja, right? From Higara. Well, that's not a bad idea, actually. She's from Higara, right? So maybe it would be somebody related to her. Maybe it would be like a shadow monk. Yeah. Maybe it would be like her brother or her nephew or someone she can trust. Excuse me. Well, you can just go Der Vikingtron. You can just actually, unfortunately, Der Vikingtron. When I try to play the intro, it's so high res, the version of it I have access to, that it causes everything to kind of go over. Well, so Venaris, here's my question. I'm probably pronouncing her name wrong, but I've seen your name in there many times. Is that the same as saying that people wouldn't enjoy it? That if we did one, that people wouldn't have fun watching? I don't know. I'm just skeptical when everyone's like, these other people do this. And like, there was one for Stranger Things. There have been lots of these for shows where it's like, well, we can only produce the show. Here's the issue. Here's where it comes from, right? We can only produce the show once a week. But there might be demand for more content than just once a week. So how do you fulfill that demand cheaply without having to produce a whole other stream? And that's how you do something like Talking Dead or the Stranger Things one that I watched. And so that's that, like, we want more, but I actually can't make more right now. So does that mean people wouldn't want to watch? I think they might. I think they might have fun. But let's give it a week or two before we try to do something like that. I don't just assume we're going to do it because other people have done it. But that doesn't mean that it's a bad idea. Fracture Lock, how common are foreign spies in Capital? Fracture Lock asks, how common are foreign spies in Capital? They are mandatory. They are mandatory. Now, I don't want to give these guys a cool or clever name. I want to give them a, like a technical... Who is that voice in the background? That's a number station we're listening to. He'll chase them right now. Well, you're going to find out that Ajax isn't really angry at the chain. The chain were just the tool, right? Angerworm, this isn't a NetHack stream. Does the title of the stream say NetHack? Are we in the NetHack category? Maybe NetHack tonight. Yeah, Kenway might be in trouble. But the Ajax's goal was to flush out the head of the resistance in Vazloria, and he did that. Mission accomplished. Scott Prim, I like that. He's the director of trade integrity. That's what they call it. They call it, that's inspired by what Scott Prim said. He is the director of trade integrity, and it's the directory, and the organization's called the Directory of Trade Integrity, or the directorship. I like Trade Integrity Board. So it's a very corporate sounding thing. It doesn't have it's not this clever, it's cool, sexy nickname or pun or anything like that. New few is better than his old few. Do I know how to spell nephew? Yeah, there we go. Intelligence Dice, it's not my wiki. It's not my wiki. I don't run it. I don't own it. It's fan-made and fan-created, and it should stay that way. I want to basically make it impossible for any one person who's not Matt Colville, maybe the third Craig Robinson can do it, to actually understand everything that's happening in any game I run. So, like, in order to understand everything that happened Wednesday night, you would have to have been in games that we've never talked about or streamed and stuff like that. So we know about security. We know they're called the State Line Constabulary. State Line Constables. You're probably gonna get a lot of constables in Capital. That's probably a term they use a lot. And they're called these ones are security, different security. Each city, sometimes each district rather, has its own security. Intelligence, we now know a little bit about them. They're run by Sherman's nephew, Shadowman. Let's find out what that guy's name is. One of the things I've been doing is going to Japanese or Persian poets when I need names for people from Higara or Corsair. But I've got the book of names open. Let's see if we can find Japan 76. This is going to be super tropey, but it's not my fault. These names are probably too common. Let's go find somebody's actual name rather than this. Yeah, I think Axon. Look, somebody said that we should just record the after-action conversation. It's not a bad idea, right? That's not a bad idea because it's a great, amazing fucking conversation you guys don't get to see, and I think you guys will get a huge kick out of it. So that might be our version of Talking Dead. Who knows? We're almost done with the stream, by the way. Excuse me. Here are some authentic medieval Japanese names. I usually try to mix it up and grab like this person's first name, this person's last name, so that you can't just look them up and find these guys. This is gonna be, stand by. Nephew Oshi. That's probably wrong, but I'll figure it out. I'm not worried about that. So I feel like at this point we're done. We did a lot of work today on what's going on in the docks. I have a pretty good sense of of the different organizations. We need to do some more work on customs and immigration. Probably need to do some more, but that'll be next week. Next Saturday, we're going to we're going to concentrate on the player-facing experience when they get to the docks. And it's going to involve fleshing some of this stuff out, but it's also going to involve inventing a bunch of stuff. Like, you see the map, right? What are these different, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different neighborhoods in the docks. What are they? And what is the process of going through customs like? So that's what we're going to do next. I never know. I've gotten to the point now where I do very little prep for these streams. I just have an idea what we want to accomplish, show up and do it. And the past couple have been really good. I think the series has, we're creating a really interesting city that has its own kind of logic and structure to it, and it is inspired by a lot of real world things, but has a lot of cool D&D stuff in it, like Shadow Monks, for instance. And I think Capital is going to be a really cool place once the players get there. We'll see. We'll see. How do you get from the docks into the capital proper? Good question. Is Colville excited for the Dune movie? I'm a lot more excited now that they're talking about Javier Bardem. They're kind of announcing him, but I don't think, still not 100% sure that movie's happening. They seem like they're waiting for something. Like they've spent a year and a half casting, and they were supposed to get started super right after Blade Runner 2049, and that's been a while. But if they hook Javier Bardem and get him for Stilgar, that would be great. He should have been excited due to So, as Stilgar, and I'm excited. I like Oscar Isaacs, but he's one of those guys that I like him, but I have a hard time seeing him as Duke Leto. Does Ajax know the Duke of Dalrath was in? Probably not, but he'll find if he doesn't know, Euler. If he doesn't know, it's because he doesn't care. Like, he could find out. He has oracles, right? He has oracles. What's your world's calendar like? There is a calendar, but it's currently structured for Vasloria. It's the Vaslorian version of the Kalian Imperial calendar. So we have to figure out what the Riojan version of that is, and that's probably, Didn't they go to the same college? They did, but at very different times. Intelligent Dice. All right, so we may, depending on how my day goes. No, it's way too far. You'd take boats, I think, probably. What is this I'm looking at? So, do you print those sheets? You mean this stuff that I'm typing in right here now? No, this is all going to end up being turned into a Word document that is written for a human being to read rather than just a bunch of notes. Did Lady Serial die? Well, I mean, you were there. How would your character know the answer to that? So, yeah, I think it's a good time and place to stop. I may see some of you folks tonight if we do NetHack tonight. And now I'm going to go get ready for my friends to come by, and we're going to do danger room scenarios with the chain so that they can get used to working as a team. And I got to figure out kind of what kind of cool stuff to throw at them. That'll be kind of fun. And they're going to learn a lot so that by the time you see them fight the orc, the half-orc and his team, they're going to be a lot better than they would be if they had never done it. Shambling Mound. Mambling Shound. We're not going to stream it. That would be crazy. That's definitely kind of offline thing. All right, so until we meet again, either tonight for NetHack, we might do NetHack like Monday night or Tuesday night. Otherwise, I guess I'll see you folks Wednesday night, and we'll play more D&D, and we'll find out how far across the Bale Sea the Rosso Cielo can take them, and what happens when Ajax is thwarted. Peace. No, wait, it's a live stream, right? I don't know if Lars has finished King. We're already getting art done, by the way. We should have art done by Thursday, maybe even earlier. It's a live stream, so the live stream sign-off is